Fake concrete test scandal widens. Lawmakers approve extra cash for Sha Tin rail link, but controversy remains. And 7 missing after container ship collides with US warship.
Good evening and welcome. The contractor accused of faking concrete test results for the mega bridge project to Macau and Zhuhai may have rigged other tests as well. According to the government, the widening scandal involves 55 other infrastructure projects. Caleb Bloom has the story.
It appears it's not only the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge which is haunted by falsified concrete test results. According to the Civil Engineering and Development Department, the laboratory contracted to test concrete for the bridge also rigged the tests of 55 other public works projects between 2013 and 2014. The department said of the 55 public works under the spotlight, 130 tests were found to be problematic. 41 of the samples were from the Central to Wan Chai Bypass project. The department stressed that tens of thousands of samples have been tested for the 55 public projects, which means on average, only 1 out of several thousand samples were found to be problematic. As for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge, the department discovered an additional 116 problematic batches of concrete tests. The tests for these samples were conducted between January 2013 and December 2014. But the department stressed that it has recovered the original raw data obtained for the tests, and further analysis suggests the concrete is still safe.
Once we identify the problematic test results, we think it's of utmost importance to determine, to analyze whether these problematic results will lead to inferior quality of concrete. We arrived at the conclusion that they should not affect the quality, the criteria for acceptance of the concrete quality.
The department says the new problematic results will be handed over to the ICAC for follow-up investigations. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Lawmakers have approved nearly $850 million in extra funding for the MTR's Sha Tin to Central rail link. But it wasn't an easy journey to get there. The Pan Democrats criticised the government for treating LegCo like an ATM, while the pro-establishment camp accused the opposition of filibustering.
25 for, 19 against. I declare that the proposal is passed.
After 10 hours of debate, lawmakers approved top-up funding of $848 million for the troubled Sha Tin to Central rail link. But in an embarrassing gaffe,
I voted wrongly. I would like to vote in support. Please amend the record.
Liao's request was declined. But that was just the culmination of a bumpy road to secure more funding. With cost overruns spiralling out of control, non-establishment lawmakers accused the government and MTRC of shirking responsibility.
The MTRCL works are regularly suffering from cost overruns. Somebody made a mistake and is not held accountable. Every time there's a cost overrun, they come for more funds. So what's the LegCo for? It's just for money to be made.
Actually, we're talking about a cost overrun of some $10 billion. We are a lawmaking body. We are not the financial institutions. We are not a lending institution.
We are really just a human ATM.
But the pro-establishment camp hit back, accusing the opposition of filibustering.
The opposition is trying to drag their feet. The constituents, they want the Sha Tin to Central line to be completed early so that they can cross the harbour more quickly. Every month of delay, there is a $4 million penalty of interest, not including other project overruns, cost overruns.
The opposition camp has been exhausting all the ways to make things difficult. If this is not filibustering, what is?
We've had about 10 hours of questioning or discussion concerning Sha-Tin Central Line in 5 segments.
The government had asked for the extra funding in January, pushing the latest cost overrun to more than $7 billion.
Overseas, and a U.S. Navy destroyer is back at port in Japan after an overnight collision with a container ship 4 times its size. 7 sailors are missing and at least 3 others are injured. With a noticeable list and limited propulsion, the USS Fitzgerald arrived back at port south of Tokyo late this afternoon. The damage to the crushed mid-right side of the vessel is clearly visible. Most of the more than 200 sailors aboard were asleep in their berths when the 2 ships rammed into each other. Japan's Coast Guard said it received an emergency call before dawn from the Philippine flag merchant ship ACX Crystal that it had collided with the destroyer. The accident happened about 100 kilometers southwest of Yokosuka, the home of the U.S. 7th Fleet. Officials say conditions at the time were clear, but the area is particularly busy with sea traffic. Researchers are searching for the missing sailors who may have been thrown into the sea or possibly trapped inside damaged sections of the destroyer. The ship's captain was airlifted to hospital and is in stable condition with a head injury. At least 2 other crew members suffered minor injuries. The crew of another destroyer nearby rushed to the Fitzgerald to help stabilize it. 3 of the ship's compartments were flooded, but officials say the boat was not in danger of sinking. Nippon Yusen KK, the Japanese shipping company that operates the container ship, says all of its 20 crew members are safe, and the vessel was able to continue sailing under its own power. The Navy's Pacific Fleet says the extent of damage to the Fitzgerald will be assessed, and investigators will now attempt to answer the obvious question of how the collision happened.
In London, grief turned to outrage over the deadly tower fire that led to the deaths of at least 30 people and possibly dozens more. There are reports the materials used in the building's renovations were substandard and led to the rapid inferno that engulfed the 24-storey Grenfell Tower. Alan Buckner reports.
Protesters took to the streets of London, furious at what they see as a slow response from the authorities and a failure to inform families and friends of the fate of loved ones. Add to that reports in local media that during renovations to Grenfell Tower last year, cheaper, less flame-resistant insulation panels were installed, enabling the fire to engulf the building in just an hour as residents slept. Protesters tried to storm the local town hall offices, demanding answers from the council leadership.
Inequality is becoming so stark now, and the flaming tower and the images that were produced on that, because the facade was bought cheaply to make it look nicer for richer residents looking out of their windows.
Many of us have been complaining for many years that council housing is being downgraded, no investment put into it, and eventually they want to knock it down and push ordinary working class people out of inner city London to gentrify it and make a lot of money out of property development, redevelopment.
British Prime Minister Theresa May needed police protection as she left a meeting with some of those left homeless by the fire. She later said the government is making £5 million available as emergency funds for people affected.
Something terrible has happened. This is an absolutely awful fire that took place. People have lost their lives. People have had their homes destroyed. They have fled for their lives with absolutely nothing.
I can tell you it was a shocking sight to see.
Amid the high tensions, a multi-faith vigil was held at West London St. John's Church in memory of those who lost their lives. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
US President Donald Trump declared he's restoring some travel and economic restrictions on Cuba that were lifted as part of the Obama administration's historic easing. He said penalties on Cuba would remain in place until its government releases political prisoners, stops abusing dissidents, and respects freedom of expression.
When Cuba is ready to take concrete steps to these ends, we will be ready, willing, and able to come to the table to negotiate that much better deal for Cubans, for Americans, much better deal. And a deal that's fair. A deal that's fair. And a deal that makes sense. Our embassy remains open in the hope that our countries can forge a much stronger and better path.
The announcement was met with skepticism and dismay by Cubans and visitors to the island nation, many of whom think the tougher restrictions will hurt the Cuban people and not its government. American visitors generated tens of millions of dollars last year.
Doctors say U.S. Republican lawmaker Steve Scalise has a good possibility of recovery despite being at imminent risk of death. Scalise remains in critical condition after a gunman opened fire at a congressional baseball practice on Wednesday. The bullet entered his left hip and tore through his pelvis, breaking bones, injuring organs, and causing severe bleeding. After several surgeries, infection still remains a risk, but Scalise's vital signs have stabilized, and he is now able to respond to family members. Doctors say Scalise faces additional surgeries, a long hospital stay, and rehabilitation. When we come back after the break, mastermind of German reunification Helmut Kohl dies. Carrie Lam says her cabinet lineup is almost in place. And top seeds struggle in second round of the U.S. Open.
Welcome back. Helmut Kohl, the former German Chancellor, has died at 87. He's credited with helping to reunite Germany after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Tony Sabine looks back at his life.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel led the tributes to Kohl, who died at his home yesterday. A life has ended, and the person who lived it will go down in history, said Merkel, who was speaking from Rome. Helmut Kohl was a great German and a great European. Kohl was at his country's political helm from 1982 to 1998, first for West Germany and then for a unified Germany. Less than a year after the November 1989 fall of the Berlin Wall, he spearheaded the move to end decades of Cold War division and unite East and West Germany. That historic union ushered in a new era in European politics and laid another foundation in the framework of the modern EU. It was the close friendships that Kohl developed with other world leaders, which helped him persuade both Western allies and the leaders of the collapsing Soviet Union that a strong, united Germany could live at peace with its neighbors. Former US President George H.W. Bush said the world had lost a true friend of freedom. Russian President Vladimir Putin credited Kohl with playing a key role in putting an end to the Cold War and with the reunification of Germany. Kohl's legacy also includes the common euro currency. Along with former French President François Mitterrand, he lobbied heavily for the euro, which was introduced in 1999. Famed for his massive girth and his tall frame, Kohl still moved nimbly in domestic politics, holding on to power for 16 years until his defeat by centre-left rival Gerhard Schröder in 1998. For foreigners, the bulky man with a fondness for heavy food and white wine came to symbolise a benign, steady and even dull Germany. Helmut Kohl, dead at 87. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
Analysts say an acquisition by online retail giant Amazon could revolutionize the way people buy groceries. Amazon has just announced a $13.7 billion purchase of supermarket chain Whole Foods. The grocer, which is known for selling organic and natural foods, operates more than 460 stores in the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. Amazon already offers grocery delivery services in 5 markets, but the Whole Foods purchase will allow it to expand to many more. Experts say the expansion into physical stores will provide a new laboratory for radical retail experiments like automation and distribution hubs.
Back locally, Chief Executive Designate Carrie Lam says her cabinet is almost in place and will be ready to go next month. The former top civil servant wants her team to be more patient in trying to win support for her administration's policies. Adam Shu has more.
With less than half a month to go before taking the helm, Carrie Lam says she has almost every position in her cabinet filled. The central government is expected to announce a full list of names next Wednesday at the earliest. Among her principal officials, Lam says civil servants will make up a larger share than in the current administration. Expect that we will deliver on better education in the first month, Lam said, brimming with confidence. In her manifesto, the former number 2 official pledged an extra $5 billion in recurrent spending on education. For sound initiatives to be delivered, Lam expects her team to spend more time to win over lawmakers of various parties. Otherwise, Lam lamented, good projects will be portrayed as a waste of money and get bogged down, which Lam was all too familiar with while serving in the current administration. Lam's role will also involve building trust between the public and her bosses in Beijing. That means being a faithful messenger in between, she noted. The outgoing administration has seen enough conflict between the two sides, especially on matters concerning greater democracy for the city. Speaking at the same radio station, Executive Councillor Fanny Law insisted that the implementation of one country, two systems has been an overall success in the SAR over the past 2 decades, except for some hiccups. She urged the younger generation to better understand the basic law and the mainland's policy towards the city. Lam's prescription for the young's mistrust of Beijing, meanwhile, will be to give them hope that Hong Kong is a place where they can settle down and buy a home, though not immediately. Adam Shu, TVB News.
Well, the government is insisting today it is determined to push ahead with scrapping the controversial MPF offsetting mechanism, but it's facing resistance from employers. Caleb Bloom explains.
Sources say the government has proposed abolishing the controversial MPF offsetting mechanism, under which employers can use the money they put into workers' retirement funds to offset severance or long-term payments. The mechanism will be progressively scrapped. During the first phase, employers would still be allowed to offset long service payments, but they would be barred from doing so for severance payments.
On the abolition of the MPF offsetting arrangement, the current government will give our highest sincerity and the greatest endeavour, and with the will to finalising a proposal within the current term of government.
However, employer representatives on the Labour Advisory Board are reluctant to back the government's latest pitch. They propose increasing the employer's MPF contribution by 1 percentage point to 6%, with the government contributing an extra 1%. Under the proposal, the offsetting mechanism would stay. Employer Representative Jimmy Kwok said under this proposal, employers would shell out an extra $5.4 billion a year. The extra amount to be shouldered by employers would be even higher than what the government proposes. But Kwok said this gives employers more certainty as they can easier plan for their future financial burden.
We pay more, but it's very clear we don't have any worries. It's about what will be the burdens or liability in the future.
Kwok also said under the government's proposal, small and medium enterprises will have to shell out the money for the severance payments. However, some business owners may have difficulties to come up with the sums. Kwok also said any new proposals takes time to study, and it will be difficult to reach a conclusion during this term of government. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Police arrested 15 people in Kwai Chung last night. Most of them were said to be young adults working for a triad gang in the district. The suspects were aged between 16 and 28. They were arrested for drug trafficking, criminal intimidation, criminal damage, acting as a member of a triad society and inviting others to join the gang. Officers also seized 2 choppers and 7 iron rods. Police said more people could be arrested. Okay, you teeing off with some golf tonight?
Yeah, and a little bit of tennis.
Okay.
We'll serve that up, too. Sports now. Golf, and 2 Americans and 2 Brits are tied for the lead after the second day of the U.S. Open at the Erin Hills Golf Course in Wisconsin. It's the first time since 1974 that 4 players are sharing the lead after 36 holes. Jeff Tang takes a look.
Playing in the morning wave
Efforts. The former world #2 lost against a player nearly 10 years his junior. In other quarterfinal action, 4th-seeded Frenchman Lucas Pouille beat Germany's Philipp Kohlschreiber to make the semifinals.
Game,
set, match for us. Thank you for watching and good night.
Good night.
Myra Watch International Limited.
Good evening. It was cloudy with showers and squally thunderstorms today. At 5 p.m, a trough of low pressure was bringing showers and thunderstorms to the northern part of the South China Sea and the coast of Guangdong. Today's temperatures ranged from 24.8 to 28.4 degrees, and the relative humidity was between 92 and 98%. 93.5 millimetres of rain has been recorded since midnight. The current temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, with the relative humidity standing at 97%. So, Freddie, how's the weather tomorrow? Cloudy with showers and a few thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow. Showers will be heavier at times at first. Temperatures will range from 25 to 29 degrees. Weather will still be unsettled with occasional thundery showers in the following couple of days. Tomorrow's air quality health index will be low. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 3. Now to the latest global weather update. Cloudy in Shanghai, rain in Taipei and Xiamen. Rain in Guangzhou, bright in Macau, cloudy in Chengdu. Cloudy in Beijing, sunny in Seoul, rain in Tokyo. Cloudy in Bangkok, showers in Ho Chi Minh City and rain in Manila. Thunderstorms in Kuala Lumpur and Singapore, showers in Jakarta. Cloudy in New Delhi, sunny in Karachi and rain in Mumbai. Sunny in Cairo, bright in Nairobi. Bright in Brisbane, showers in Sydney, Melbourne and Auckland. Thunderstorms in Toronto, rain in New York. Cloudy in Vancouver, sunny in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Sunny in London, Paris, Amsterdam and Zurich, bright in Frankfurt. And that's the weather. Have a lovely evening.
What the hell's going on? What's wrong with all those people?
I've got a possible catastrophic respiratory outbreak to the city of